to the debate. I could try to get you out of here by maybe a little bit after 7.
We're here for you.
Okay, all right. Well, I want to thank Stand Up for Idaho for inviting me. I wanted to come to the Bonneville County Republican Lincoln Day dinner, but it was just way too much. I am a grassroots campaign, and so I am pretty broke. I am working budget by budget. So, my name's Brenda Bourn, and I am running for U.S. Senate. I am a native Idahoan, and I was adopted at birth to a Caucasian family, and I grew up in the Magic Valley. I am also an enrolled member of the Nez Perce tribe. My husband and I have been married for 28 years, and he's a pastor in a church in Boise. And we have one daughter who is 18, just graduated, and will be headed off to college in the fall. So, empty nesters. I'm very new to politics. I did not ever think I would ever be doing politics in my wildest dreams. But that all changed last October. Because I was forced to make a decision between to get the vaccine or have my license in jeopardy. I've been a diabetes educator for 24 years, and I specialized in pediatrics. Let me be clear. I will do whatever it takes as a U.S. Senator to make sure that Idahoans don't have to face that decision again. Here in Idaho, I engage daily in life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And that very concept, the God's given rights of freedom, was born in the hearts of ordinary people. George Washington was a farmer and a soldier. John Adams was a school teacher. They were ordinary men, not politicians, and not millionaires. Other political giants were haberdashers, teachers, farmers, ranchers, actors. But I think we've lost our way. If we continue to go down the path that we are now headed and continue to elect those that are wealthy, those that are powerful, those that are elite, then we will continue to lose our country, our government, and our way of life. We need to return to our guiding principle. We need to return to a government and a constitution that Abraham Lincoln proclaimed, of the people, for the people, by the people. This nation has had a reawakening period this year, and we've realized that we need to become more involved in our community and our government. And I'm one of those that have been woken up, mostly because being forced out of my 24-year career, but also listening to Idahoans as I've traveled and campaigned, hearing frustration that we have leaders that are inactive and not being representative of the people. So we are seeing our freedoms and our way of life eroding around us. For example, this administration just declared March 31st as Trans Day. We've also appointed a Supreme Court justice that doesn't know the difference between a man and a woman. This is unacceptable. We have to take a stand. Freedom is as essential as it is to breathe. Without freedom, we are a slave to the state. I agree with the words of Chief Joseph, an ancestral leader of the Nez Perce tribe, and he said, "Let me be a free man, free to travel, free to stop, free to work, free to trade where I choose, free to choose my teachers, free to follow the religion of my fathers, free to talk, think, and act for myself." As U.S. Senator, I will fight to preserve those freedoms and prevent federal overreach that takes away those individual rights. As a senator, I will only vote in favor of legislation that protects those freedoms. Another alarm bell that has gone off is inflation. It's an issue that's affecting Americans affecting Idahoans. Inflation, in all purposes, is a tax that can cost the average American $5,200, according to a Bloomberg study. This is especially hurtful to Idahoans who are finding hard times to make it for housing, groceries, and fuel. The solution of inflation is pretty easy: reduce government spending. Unlike our current senators, if elected as the U.S. Senate, I will not support legislation that increases unnecessary spending, such as the Build Back Better infrastructure bill. A bill that Senator Crapo said would not raise taxes. Voting for this bill is not going to solve America's problems. I like what the late Ronald Reagan said, and you probably all know it, is government does not solve problems, it subsidizes them. The Crapo vote for the infrastructure bill was not a conservative decision and will indeed raise taxes. So now's the time for a change in the status quo. It's commonplace across the country, not just here in Idaho, that congressmen and women serve in their positions for decades, sometimes even lifetimes. We were just talking to somebody that Pelosi has been in for a very, very long time. So it's a lifetime that they've been in. So you know the senator that I'm trying to unseat has been in politics for 38 years. That's too long. It's too long for me. It's too long for anyone. But we've been conditioned to accept this. We've been conditioned to assume that those that have made a lifelong career can continue doing it because they just know what to do. But when we do that, we lose our government that is of the people, for the people, by the people. We're governed by a congressional society which exists and operates entirely on its own, entirely sequestered from the impact of the decisions they make, with zero accountability. A senator's term is 6 years. When I'm elected, I will serve 2 terms maximum. And then I will campaign and support my replacement who'll be fired up with new fuel for the torch for Idaho for another 6 to 12 years. We need to remember who we are as a country, who we are as a people. Our Constitution was created for a moral and religious people, and we're losing sight of that. John Adams, like his counterparts, were ordinary men who feared God. And these ordinary men who feared God were farmers, soldiers, teachers, who were willing to do extraordinary things. They were not millionaires, they were not politicians, they were not corporate executives. They weren't even giants among men, but they became giants in our nation's history. And that's the company I place myself in as I humbly declare before God and man that I am just like you. I am simply responding to an urge in my spirit that I will serve boldly in this way. And my hope and my prayer is that my message right now is inspiring others to stand up and serve, to say now's the time for me to stand. And now's the time for me to say it's my turn to be we the people. I'm well aware I am in a David and Goliath fight. But I've earned recently the endorsements of the Conservative PAC of Idaho and the Gem State Patriot, and I have many people going out door to door for me. But I need your help because it is a tough battle. We need to stand for our country right now. So let me leave you with the words of John Adams that summarizes my passion for this campaign. We have no government armed with power, capable of contending with human passions, unbridled by morality and religion. Avarice, ambition, revenge, gallantry would break the strongest cords of our Constitution as a whale goes through a net. Our Constitution is designed only for a moral and religious people. It is wholly inadequate for any other. And you can visit my website, Bourn for Senate, Bourn, the number 4, Senate.com. And I'll take any questions.
Right, this is the most important part of the night.
Oh.
In 2020, when you found your job in jeopardy, and the theme now is go local. So what did you do locally to fight against Idaho government that came down on Idahoans pretty hard?
Yeah. So because I lost my job in October of 2021, I was still working for that whole year once the pandemic hit and we were shut down. So I was working until 2021, and prior to that we were getting kind of inklings of, okay, this is where the hospital's going with their mandates. And so we started writing legislation. We started going to, there are lots of different rallies to go to. But again, nothing. We got a letter back from a senator in Wisconsin, Senator Johnson, who was having a COVID summit. And he said, come watch the COVID summit.
Can I follow up?
Yeah.
Did your church close down?
Yes, so, well, we have several campuses. And so the campus that my husband's a pastor, the campus pastor of, it did close down, and they all met at the central campus. Because it's a big building to video one person. So, yeah, yep. But our church is also in Boise. So they were gonna come around and start finding people that were open.
Yeah.
I think there's one over there.
Yeah.
So what does the Second Amendment mean to you?
The Second Amendment is pretty cut and dry. We have the right to bear arms, and it shouldn't be anything else. And I know there's lots of legislation that people are trying to take away our arms, and it's not constitutional. So we will hopefully fight for that and make sure that we keep aligned with our Constitution.
Okay, one of my concerns is that in Washington, they write 1,200-page bills and drop them on your desk and vote on them 4 or 6 hours later. How would you deal with that?
So the first thing that I will do as a senator is to get together with all the other senators that are like-minded, constitutionally strong, and there are several. And in fact, I was just up in Grangeville, and a veteran was telling me, we got to get rid of that squad. We actually need a platoon. So get yourself a platoon and stand together. So when those bills come that have not only 6,000 pages, but also hidden things inside them, that we are finding that and we are standing strong together and making sure that we all vote no. You either cut this down and we stand together and not let lobbyists break us as a platoon.
So would you not vote for a bill if you hadn't read it?
I would vote, I'd vote no for it, yeah. And with that explanation of, we need to cut this down and we need more time to investigate it. Nobody else would sign a document that you haven't read, correct? I mean, you might be signing your firstborn over. Well, okay, maybe. Oh wait, I only have one, so I can't do that. And she's a good kid.
I believe the Federal Reserve, is that on?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You just kind of talk straight into
I believe the Federal Reserve is one of the major cancers of what's wrong with our society. It was created in 1913, 2 days before Christmas, when a lot of the congressmen had already quit for the year. That's one reason why inflation is so high, is because of the Federal Reserve. It's never been audited. We print trillions of dollars, and it dilutes the value of the monetary system. What would you do, or would you do anything to abolish, or at least audit the Federal Reserve and then abolish it?
Yeah, I think you're right on track. We have to investigate, we have to audit, we have to And we have to back our money with something with substantial other than air. And so we need investigations. Same thing with our COVID response. We need investigation. Fauci needs to be investigated. So that's what we've got to do. And unfortunately, there's not enough representatives and senators coming together and saying, this is what we have to do, let's do it. So hopefully it will be a whole change next year. There are 23 or 24 already retired senators, so we could have a whole new Congress next year.
Yay.
And hopefully we can all, hopefully we can all come together and fight, be that platoon.
Are you for term limits, and if you are, why? If you're not, why aren't you? Or what's your position on that?
Yeah, I think we need term limits. I think we get representatives in there that get complacent. They get too comfortable and they get bought. So if they know they're only going to be in there for a short amount of time, they're only going to make a certain amount of money. And so we need term limits. We have too many people in there that have been in for years and years and years. And it's sad that we have people going into Congress coming out richer. Congress is supposed to be our servants, and they're wealthier than our veterans are. So we need term limits, and we need to stand together to stop the lobbyists paying off our senators and representatives.
Got one here, then.
Our President Biden has recently, through his executive orders, started paving the way for digital currency. And that goes back. His vision of that is, as I understand it, is to have digital currency with the Federal Reserve being the central bank. And so it's not like Bitcoin with blockchain, it's the central bank digital currency.
Yeah.
So even if you don't have a platoon behind you, Brenda, how would you vote for that? In regards
Sounds
to-
fishy to me, and I don't even get Bitcoin, so that would be something I would have to investigate more of. Luckily, I do have a financial person on my team, and we'll have to investigate that more. And because I don't know anything about currency, but it sounds fishy to me to have. You have got to have gold or silver or something that is. This is how much this money is. So if we don't have that and it's just kind of in the air,
which is what it's been since
yeah.
1970, but
then it can't be as valuable as you can make up a number. Like today it's going to be worth $5 and tomorrow it'll be $10 or whatever the administration wants to make it. And it can't be that. It has to be something backing it so this is what it truly is.
well, if you were one that didn't mind the government knowing every penny that you'd spend,
Yeah.
you'd probably go for digital currency.
Yeah, we are on, my family, we do Dave Ramsey, so cash is king, so we pretty much do everything by cash. So, except for my political committee now has a card, so.
All right, here you go.
Okay, we on?
Yep.
First of all, thank you so much for taking time to come here tonight. It's been a blessing. Thank you so much. So here's a hypothetical question for you. If tonight you were put in charge of all the education for the state of Idaho, kindergarten, first grade, high school, all the way up through the colleges, what changes would you immediately put in place?
Well, federally, so are you talking just statewide?
Statewide.
Okay, I was gonna say federally, we need to get rid of the Department of Education and put it under the state. That way the state can have somebody investigating all these books that they say doesn't have CRT. In fact, I was just up in Grangeville and they are going through all their textbooks and they're finding stuff in Grangeville. And it's a small town. So it is happening no matter what they may say. And so that needs to be investigated and rooted out. So.
think we can all probably agree that the federal spending is out of control. We've had many, many years now of omnibus spending bills. Senate just changed their rules to now again allow earmarks. I wonder what you would do, what your position is on in bringing some discipline back into the federal budget process.
One, anytime it's unnecessary spending, if we're adding more trillions to this. So there was a bill just recently that our great senators voted on that actually increases more government and more government spending. So they added a new ambassador of sanctions. So an ambassador makes quite a bit of money, and both of our senators voted for that. That would have been an obvious no. There's also the Completes Act that was just voted on. Both senators, yes, on this. And it's going to actually give more money for cannabis research. Again, those would be an automatic no. Come back where spending is zero, and we can balance the budget. Say that 5 times fast.
What's your take on the border situation?
It's an invasion, and we've got to finish the wall. And we also need to be detained and deport. That just has to happen. We have to finish the border. Marjorie Greene, a representative from Georgia, was down just recently to the borders, and that's what I would do. Nobody else was with her. There was, I don't know, another senator, but I can't remember who it was. Who? Andy Biggs. Okay.
Arizona.
So why aren't our senators down there showing this is what's happening? And because a lot of people aren't even thinking it's an invasion. It truly is. The drugs that are coming across, there are people, and I don't know about here in Bonneville, but in Ada County, a friend of mine works for the juvenile corrections facility, and kids are trying drugs for the first time, and they're dying. So we have drugs flowing across, and so we need to shut that border down now.
Okay, I have one real quick to.
Yeah.
So you're in favor of term limits, but I think term limits only stops the corruption so far, as we've seen with Hunter Biden and all the fun and games that he gets into. Would you also favor a bill that would provide not only a conflict of interest for senators, but also their families? Families, and even not just their immediate family. I mean, we probably will see, cousins come out that, we're making money, and so it's anybody related. It could even be friends, like, I have a friend that's in this industry, and we, pat them on the backs. That needs to be stopped too. And I'm sure it hasn't been investigated yet, just like Biden hasn't.
I too appreciate you coming out.
Thanks.
It takes a lot of courage. I'm going to ask you some questions, and you may not like some of them.
Okay.
But I'm just trying to get some answers out there, and I want people to be aware of some certain situations. Are you familiar with the Smith-Mundt Act?
Nope.
That is where you're not able to use propaganda on your own people. That came out in effect after World War II.
Yeah.
They had to make a law they couldn't use propaganda against us. Barack Obama appealed it. Since Barack Obama, the Smith-Mundt Act can now be used, they can use propaganda against us.
And they have been.
And they are.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that?
Well, it sounds like we need to repeal the repeal.
Yeah.
So, and that's, the media truly controls everything. The media needs to change so that we can't have propaganda, that we go back to where a news person reported the news and not make up their own agenda. In fact, I just heard on the news the other day, sorry.
No, it's all good.
That they were, now I forgot. They were talking about something, but they were making it sound like it was something else than what it really was. And so we need to. Yes, exactly.
I can give you a little insight on that.
Yeah.
There's 6 people who own all the media on the planet, and none of them are American. Not one is American owned.
Yeah,
Hence this propaganda, and not one is American owned.
yeah. Do you have billions of dollars that we can?
No.
Elon Musk, maybe?
So back to we the people.
Is he American?
No.
I was gonna say, I don't think he's American, yeah.
He's actually African American.
In South Africa.
Oh, okay.
Depends on how you want to say it with them. So about we the people, for the people, by the people. In the Constitution, it states that we can remove you. Do you know how we can do that?
Is that the 17th Amendment? Or no, that's for the Senate, senators are controlled by,
And I'm
Yeah.
not saying that
Yeah.
because of you.
yeah,
I'm looking at our current situation. I would ask this of
Yeah.
anybody who's running. There is a clause in there in the Constitution that we have the right to remove somebody
Yeah.
if we don't do it. I would love to hear that answer from somebody,
Yeah.
Congress, Senate. That would be great.
yeah, I think anybody, just like if I was working as my diabetes educator and I was giving false information, they would remove me and even cost me my license. So why isn't Congress, that's back to that, they are sequestered from any of their decisions. They are entirely zero accountability. They should have accountability for everything. Same thing with the Republican Party. So as a Republican, you sign off saying you agree with this platform. If you don't follow the platform, then you should be held accountable. Everybody should be held accountable for that.
Did you know the Federal Reserve is not government run? Do you know who owns that?
I don't know who.
JP Morgan Chase.
No, of course. Yeah,
So it's not even a government entity.
yeah, yeah.
I just didn't know if everybody knew that.
Yeah.
It's kind of a big deal.
Are you a constitutional teacher?
I'm getting very educated.
Yeah.
I put almost 5,000 hours in the last 3 years.
Good.
My friend's a structural engineer, he put in 3,500 to be a structural engineer.
Yeah,
I got 5,000 hours of study,
yeah.
and I would love to talk to you. I
Yeah,
have
so-
a lot of information.
So there is this great class that I met a lady that they actually go to all the new freshmen and they do classes for them. And so that would be my first step, is contacting this lady that I met. Oh gosh, it's been months now. Once the campaign is over, and do her, and I am doing a Hillsdale constitutional class when I have time.
Well, I'm going to give you one more piece of advice on that, and everybody's going to look at me probably weird here in just a second. Do you know how many constitutions there are?
For state and the United States?
For the United States.
There's only
There's
Three, yeah,
There's the Constitution for the United States, there's the Constitution of the United States, and there's the Constitution of the United States of America. Make sure your person knows that if you go to somebody for constitutional study.
yeah,
This is what they've hidden from us.
yeah.
Rockefellers and Carnegies are the ones who started the education system for the Americans. If you know anything about the Rockefellers and Carnegies, you'll know how we got to where we are.
Yeah, yeah.
One of the squad right now is in Pakistan, Omar.
Okay.
And Pelosi is telling everybody, oh, that's her personal time. But it's starting some real problems with India, who is an ally of the United States right now. And Pakistan and India are already coming to blows really close, like they're talking nuclear now. And we got some problems with her, and she needs to be not only have her security clearance removed and impeached. Would you vote to impeach her?
After investigation, and it shows that, yeah, she's liable for certain impeachable offenses, yeah. Yeah. Because we kind of go back to that propaganda. I mean, so we can't just, still have to give somebody the speedy trial, the right to present themselves. So we have to do that. So we'd have to give her at least that right. That's her right to prove whatever she's doing. And then, yes, investigate, and then, yep. And same thing with like Fauci, Biden, all of them.
Okay, do you have any other questions?
How do you feel about using the U.S. military as a foreign policy tool?
Yeah, we have to protect our borders first. And we cannot be helping out any other country until we've actually helped our own country first. We are supposed to protect our borders first. And once we do that, then we might actually be in a position to be able to help others. The other thing is we need to be energy independent ourselves. Our resources have to be, we have to be only dependent on ourselves.
Right.
Then we'll have some leverage when it comes time to a wartime, instead of being able to say, well, we still have to buy oil from you, so we'll just ignore what you're doing.
Okay, can I ask one quick question?
Sure.
You talked about due process. You know who Anwar al-Awlaki is? Anwar al-Awlaki was a U.S. citizen that was accused of being a terrorist by the Obama administration. He was killed by a drone, so was his son, with no trial, no due process whatsoever. The government just said, this guy's a terrorist, Barack Obama killed him. I served in 2 different branches of the military, talked with military guys, and I told them this is a dangerous thing that we're killing American citizens with no trial. Many of those people told me, I'm okay with this one. He's a terrorist. Well, today, the FBI considers parents who don't agree with the school board as terrorists.
Right.
And so I guess it's not so much a question as I appreciate your allegiance to the due process, because whenever we trample the rights of one person, we trample the rights of all people. I hope you stick to that when we get there.
Yeah. And I'm going to make sure I have people that are going to make me stick to it. Obviously, my husband being a pastor, he's not going to be with me in DC, so I'll be coming home to him, and he'll be making sure you are staying true to God first and then country. And so my allegiance is going to be to God, and that is where I'm going to make all my answers, all my decisions from first. So, and then I also there's another lady that I've met on the campaign trail, and she actually does Bible studies and prayer with legislators in DC on a regular basis. And so I've already contacted her and said, all right, when I'm elected, we're gonna be there together. So she's gonna help me be accountable, plus all my friends back home. And really, I
will be calling you too.
Yeah, so, well, no, we'll be having town hall meetings. You know, it's unfortunate that our last town hall meeting you had to pay for, and it was in Boise. So, from our last senator. Prior to that, the last town hall meeting was 2019. So, we need to get back to communicating. If I'm representing you, then I should be here hearing what you're saying. Or if you're in DC, I will make an appointment. Let's show you DC. So it has to be communication first from the people. And so we'll have town hall meetings. There's a lot of senators, like Senator Johnson, that does Zoom calls once a month with his constituents back home. So it has to be communication to and from both of us.
I believe that every major problem in the country could be solved if we return to the Constitution. The Constitution is a solution. My understanding is Barack Obama was not a natural-born citizen. I believe he was born in Kenya. Kamala Harris, I believe, is not a natural-born citizen. I suspect everybody in Washington, D.C. that's in Congress or Senate probably knows that.
Yeah.
But nobody is bringing that to light and saying she is not eligible to be vice president or president. What would you do to bring that to light to where she couldn't be president because Joe Biden is incapable of being president. So something, if he died or whatever happened to him, what would you do to not allow her to be VP?
Should we let our constitutionalist answer that? Because I think it is, I don't know what her status is in her, if she was born somewhere else. I had never heard that. So,
Abraham Lincoln was not supposed to be president. Did you know that? He was a bar attorney. You know what the term bar means?
no.
British accredited registered.
No.
He had allegiance
To
to
the
Brits,
Brits.
and he became president. He is president of a corporation, USA Inc., which was the United States of America. Being a corporation, he was allowed to be president. He was not as an American, elected president. He became president of a corporation, just like McDonald's. That's what he was president of. That's the propaganda that started on us. That's happened from there. What's happening right now through his comments of who shouldn't be there, it's propaganda. There is people behind the scenes working on that.
Yeah.
And have brought it forward. And it has been put in front of some military tribunals. It is being looked into.
Good.
They just can't present it right now because of what's happening. There is a huge things happening that I wish I could sit in here with you guys for 40 hours and try to explain what I learned in 5,000 hours, what's happening. It is huge. Some of your like the central bank digital currency, CBDC, Bitcoin. Bitcoin is our payment back to China because we got a loan from China. That's how we're supposed to pay back China, is through Bitcoin. Bitcoin's not a good thing.
Yeah.
Anything gold and silver backed, like you said, the unidollar's coming. The green dollars we have, I bet in 6 months they're going to be sitting in the street. They're already starting to burn the green dollars right now. They are Federal Reserve notes. They are not money. They were supposed to be transfers between military and banks, is what those notes are. They're actually debt. These are IOUs that we're carrying around. We start looking into it. So they're going to go away because they are going to that digital currency. But there's two in play. We all know about the cabal. We all know about good and bad. The bad one is just a straight up digital currency, no backing. They will control everything you do. The gold backed, if you guys ever hear about gold backed digital currency, that's what we want. That's the good side. That's asset backed. Everything else is just numbers on a computer if it doesn't have gold backing. So, for future reference, if you guys have any chance of voting on any of that, make sure it's gold backed.
And so when is he running? Did you?
Well, that's what's going on in Russia right now. Do you know that Russia is gold backed? They're using rubles.
Yeah.
And everybody who's not paying in rubles ain't getting anything. Germany, Poland, they're getting ready to lose all their power and everything because they refuse to pay in gold-backed currency. Russia, China, and India, 40% of the world's population has switched to gold-backed currency 3 weeks ago. If 40% of the world switched already, what do you think's coming?
Yeah.
The some of the superpowers right there as far as money and population.
Yeah.
That's what's coming. So watch out for anything that's just digital and make sure it has a current, something backing. That's what we want. Vote forward, look forward. Sheree?
I just have 2 questions for you. If you were in office, would you renew the Patriot Act, and how do you feel about the Patriot Act? And the second one was, what are your thoughts on tariffs, and if the United States should be putting tariffs in other countries like they did to China?
Yeah, I don't have any input on that because I haven't researched it. Again, I'm new to politics, and I don't have, I really wish he would run. Somebody that has been studying the Constitution as long. I think we need good people fighting for us, and so that would be my first thing to investigate if we're seeing we need to repeal the Patriot Act or the Terrorist Act. So.
You take his phone number, and then you use him as an advisor.
Yeah, they have lots of, yeah, so. Can't read that.
Who carries around the law of peace by the military?
Is it?
law
Peace.
Somebody I know. Florida law. United States Strategic Marshal Service.
Yeah.
I have a lot of study. I would love to help somebody,
Yeah.
help this country.
Yeah. And we need people like that. And, you know, so in fact, I did an interview with somebody just recently, and she wanted to do a bill in the state, but she was, you know, I think this is a good bill, but when she went to a constitutional lawyer, said, if you do that, then this will happen, and this will happen, and this will happen. So you have to really be careful. So we need people that are well-versed to know, okay, if we enact this, what's the trickle down? So you have to surround yourself with people like you. So I guess you're on your way to DC?
There's a continental constitution, there's a federal constitution, and there's a municipal constitution. One's American, one's British, and one is owned by the Pope.
What one was drafted on September 17th, 1787?
That's the second one.
What's-
Okay, I can look
what's
it up
that
real
one?
quick. Find out this.
I mean, that's the one we're following, I hope, some of the time. Some of the time.
I also want to thank you for taking the time to come and let us greet you. The question I have for you as a Christian, that we serve an almighty holy God who created male and female. How would you deal with this woke in the Senate as to how we're going to get this, you know, back to where we are God-fearing people?
Yeah. I think starters, we start getting states to get the bills from Florida and enact them so that they're in our state. So we are teaching kids that there is man and female. And yeah, it'd be great to get prayer back in. I remember growing up in the 70s, we prayed in school, but that probably will never happen again until, you know, we come to a point where we come to Jesus' point. But I think making sure we're supporting legislation that is not saying you have to teach CRT or whatever else it's been called. So that is left up to the families. So I think that's the only way we just have to leave all that out in education so that it's left up to the families. If they're going to teach that, fine. But it's not something that should be taught to our kids that haven't deciphered what they are growing up to be. So we have a lot of teachers saying, well, if you feel like you're a male today, but you're female, you can be that. And so we need to get rid of that first in our schools.
Yeah, they're telling our kids lies.
Yeah.
How do you feel about the Department of Education? Yes or no?
No. Yeah, it needs to go. It has to be up to the states.
In 2020, as we were fighting the COVID pandemic, many world leaders and Joe Biden himself called for the Great Reset. And part of the Great Reset was the idea of using these ESG scores to direct the flow of money to select corporations and businesses. How are we going to fight that?
I don't know. I think one vote at a time, saying no to anything that is backed by the World Economic Forum and making sure that we're staying true to that. I think there's so much investigation that we have to do before we sign off on a bill because there's these little strings everywhere and we have to be careful of that instead of just signing off on a bill because overall it looks good. So like that propaganda stuff, there's stuff in these bills that are, and our state does the same thing. Our state has hidden things in bills that we have to bring them out and say, so if we sign off on this bill, then you're getting this, or, you know, things like that. So we have to be we have to pay attention to our bills that we're signing in.
Okay, I have a question for you.
Sure.
I think this is gonna become a hot button topic here in the next year or so, the federal legalization of marijuana. There's gonna be a lot of people that are gonna start running on that, and not only in Idaho are we getting surrounded by people that are legalizing it for a variety of reasons, but federally, I think it's gonna become a hot button topic. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, a bill just passed just recently that our senators voted on to allow to look at cannabis research. So it would be a hard no for me. I wouldn't sign off on a bill that says, yes, let's legalize cannabis.
What if the majority of the people,
Yeah.
let's say, wanted that cannabis, and you're strong on not?
Yeah, I'd
And
say,
that happens back in Washington a lot.
yeah,
Supreme Court justice, they just put in, you know, they didn't really vet and enter the way they should have. So how would you handle that if you got everybody in the Congress pushing you
yeah.
this direction?
Yeah, so if the people in Idaho want it, then we have to, then again, Senate is a servant position and it should be doing what the people of Idaho wants. So the only way to do that would be is to take a vote, and it would have to come up on a ballot to vote for that. So right now, I think majority is saying no on any cannabis in the state of Idaho. That's a no?
No.
Yeah.
As a grandson and a great-grandson of a cannabis farmer, before the Depression, and DuPont got the Congress and Senate to pass cannabis as part of the evil weed of marijuana. It's two different plants.
Right.
Our family was one of the largest rope producers and cannabis producers in the Midwest and Louisiana. So I'm all for cannabis.
Okay.
So, but I'm not for marijuana or medical use. So.
Yeah, there is that distinguish.
So anyhow,
So, yeah.
I just had to defend the family name.
And who knows what research will do? I mean, there's lots of things that, as research changes, let's look at it.
So I guess my real question is, what is your strategy to beat Senator Crapo?
Getting out and talking to the people. So I'm doing tons and tons of meet and greets and going to the Lincoln Days. I have a web page. I have a Facebook that is sometimes active. If I don't, I'm trying to be really good. I got banned back in 2020 when I told people how to boost their immune system with vitamin D, a research that dietitians did. That is my field. That's my field of expertise. And it was misinformation. So I was banned from Facebook. Then I was banned for BLM stuff. Yeah, I wasn't very, wasn't very nice on that. And so I have Facebook and just trying to get the word out. So everybody that likes me, go to your contacts list and tell them who to vote for. Because really, if you guys are here, but how many people are in Idaho Falls?
Lots.
Yeah. So how many of them are investigating who to vote for? Yeah, 5? Yeah. So not very many. We have a big problem. People are not investigating or not coming and talking, meeting people. And so they just end up voting, sometimes whoever's on top. Well, hopefully we'll go alphabetical because then I would be on top. But if we actually have the right elections, then it should be randomized. And the name that they're probably going to pick will be Crapo because they know him, unless they hear from you guys. Unless they hear from friends of a friend of a friend of a friend, like, hey, I heard this person. I want to go vote for Brenda. So you've got to get the word out. Now, if I had $5 million, that'd be different. I could do some ads.
All right, here's your question here.
Speaking of Facebook and all those people, what's your thoughts on repealing sections, I think it's 320, related to their protection?
Yeah, so that, we definitely have to make sure that people can't be classified as misinformation. And it's freedom of speech. So everybody should have the right for free speech. And that's what it was for, right? Facebook was for people to say what they wanted to say and for everybody to hear. So they have to allow people to be free speech.
Zuckerberg's grandma, the Rothschild.
That makes sense.
Do you know everybody's family tree?
I got about 2,000 names on the good side, about 1,000 on the good side, about 2,000 on the bad side.
Wow. I have a family tree, but I haven't looked at it that far.
So the question came up about cannabis. How would you determine whether or not the federal government should even be concerned about cannabis or some of the other things that have been mentioned tonight? How do you determine whether you should say, that's not the federal government's job, we leave that to the states?
Yeah, it should be the states, and we would go back to that constitutional expert saying, is this constitutionally for the states, or is this constitutionally for federal? And if it's for the states, then the state needs to be sovereign, right? So you have to, if we come back and they do a vote that Idaho wants cannabis in, for whatever reason, and we go back to the expert of what you can use with cannabis or marijuana, whatever it is, the state would decide. So it needs to go state first, and then the Constitution expert would tell us, yes, this is state or federal bill.
Well, I think,
decision.
I really believe that if you read the Constitution, if it's not in the Constitution, it's to be left to the states.
Yeah.
That doesn't take a constitutional attorney or anybody else to figure that out.
Yeah.
If it's not there, then we leave it
But
to
they've
the
also
states.
trampled
That's
over
where we
the
got
9th
into
and
trouble.
10th Amendment, where they're making mandates because they say it's not in the Constitution, but we're gonna mandate it anyways.
Yeah.
So the Constitution has definitely been trampled on the
Set
last
aside.
couple years. I mean, we've given power and authority to organizations that aren't supposed to be governing us.
There was only supposed to be 19,
Yes.
not 2,000.
Yeah.
Well, hemp has a good broad, there's a lot of uses that hemp can be used for besides just roll. It's when you bring in the marijuana portion, which has the THC, that's the problem. But hemp, it could solve a lot of problems with the environmental, paper products, straws, stuff like that, because it breaks down so fast. And so it does have, we revert back to the farmer over there, and he'll tell you the good things that hemp could do. And that's how they separated it, I think. I don't know, I'm not expert on it, but they couldn't distinguish what was hemp and what was marijuana. So, a guy, I'm growing hemp, but he's growing weed, But hemp is a good thing for the environment to take care of a lot of problems there.
Yeah.
Did you have a big clientele following you when you were doing your medical stuff? Do you think you could do well on your own?
You mean as a dietitian, just as a diabetes educator on my own? Yeah, so I do consulting now.
And you can go private and don't need a license?
No, I need a license. If I'm going to bill, I have to have a license to bill. And
Not if you do trade.
yeah,
We
so
talked about trade earlier. You're talking e-commerce.
yeah. Yeah, so billing insurance. Most people don't want to see a diabetes educator. Their insurance is covering for education. And so I have to have a license to bill. So, and I have to be certified, and that takes extra hours. When you talk about 5,000 hours for educating yourself on the Constitution, I have hours and hours for education just to be certified as a diabetes educator. So.
I was just wondering on voting registration and voting rights, how do you, Idaho, you know, when I go to vote, I have to show them identification,
Yeah.
and I have to be on the list, and I have to sign my name as I come in, and when I turn my ballot in. That's a state, I guess the states all choose that.
Right.
How they want it done, but would you ever say that somebody in Idaho doesn't have the ability to get down sometime before the next election to sign up for them to vote? Do you believe that that's going on?
I think
in other states?
if it was that important that you wanted to vote, then you would make it that your priority. So if really, so everybody should have that opportunity to vote if they've registered. I agree. I think you need your license to vote. You can't use a BSU card that could be, I mean, I still have my Lewis and Clark State College back from 1990. I should really get rid of it, but the picture was really good. So I shouldn't be able to use that because I look totally different from 1990 to now. But some people have accepted that. I'm excited for this next election only because I'm on it. No, just kidding. But my daughter gets to vote for her first vote. And you better believe it. She's taking her ID, and I'm going to want them to, here's your paper ballot. We're going to vote. I'll make sure she votes for me. I don't know how I'm going to do that yet, but I'll pay her off. No, just kidding. But I love the fact that when I have voted in the past here in Idaho, that they look at your ID and they say, Brenda Bourn has voted. I'm going to record when they say Zoe Bourn has voted, because it's a huge milestone, and I'm proud of that. So we need to go back to paper ballots. I think that's
so even if they do have absentee ballots, I don't mind them that bad if they're done right. But when they just send ballots out to people that have not even requested them,
right,
and they give them enough time to apply for the absentee ballots, and there's rules for that. But I think they're going beyond that. Has Idaho ever tried to do anything like that?
Well, unfortunately, I don't know. I've seen some Facebook posts already that have shown I got my absentee ballot and it was already opened here in Idaho. So, so I guess Dorothy Moon would be a great person to ask about what she's going to do for election integrity.
Yeah, because that's messed up.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Well, and same thing with like the random poll. You know, so there's supposed to be a random poll, but in the last couple elections here in Idaho, they weren't. And so they went alphabetical, or one person was on top. And we all know the person on top usually wins. And so there are some hinky things that are going on in elections, and hopefully we'll get a new Secretary of State that's going to fix all those.
Besides you, how many are running against Crapo?
There are 5 of us, so 5 together. So yeah, we have a kind of a big ballot, which makes it hard. I would really like for us to be able to meet together and decide who's going to, and that was the advice that I was given back before we even, the end of the filing date was. We reached out and we got no response, because we knew that was the advice that, yeah, we need one person, one good person on the ballot, and we could beat Crapo. But now we have, well, I still think we only have one, but
Good for you.
my
for you.
So.
Okay, I have another question
Oh.
for you. You said throughout the night that you'll make a decision based on the research or the investigation. Well, we've all been told to follow the science too. And how's your BS meter? Because I can make statistics say whatever I want.
Oh yeah, you definitely can, and it has. And truly, they were not following the science because both researches were showing different things. So we do have to investigate it more and follow the science and actually all of the science, not just one list. In fact, there was a list that was given out, say this is the approved research list that you can quote to certain providers.
Right, but the pockets
So-
are pretty deep and,
Yeah.
money talks, so where's
Yeah.
your, you gotta remain, have some integrity about it too, so.
Yeah, yep.
Just like,
I was just wondering how many of us know that there are spoilers out there that are put in by the other side. And they split the vote, and I think we need to be more concerned about that. We have to do our homework as citizens to really know whether people are founded on the true intent of the founding fathers in the Constitution, the right Constitution, by the way. Okay.
They're all pretty right.
I did,
They all say good things, right?
Yeah, so, this corruption in government, though, has been going on longer than a couple of years.
Yeah.
It was going on in my family, that I knew about in my family growing up in Burley, Idaho.
Yeah.
I mean, my dad took on a lot of politicians that were supposed to be good guys. So what difference do you really think you can make, Brenda, with all the corruption that's in government? And the Congress is not doing what they ought to be doing. The president does his edicts, and
Well, I
the
hope
judges.
just like a light on a hill can shine for miles, and hopefully, I can do that too. And I will try to be as true. And really, I'm walking away, even though I'm only contracting, I'm still walking away from my career of 24 years to do this. And I'm going to work hard to make sure that it's worth it to walk away from my career. And I will stay as true as I can and make sure my family and my friends are holding me to that.
Well, you come across as a very sincere person with integrity.
Thank you.
And I appreciate that, and I appreciate what you're trying to do. There's just so much corruption, and unless you can truly join with some of the others that really know what's going on, the deep state is only part of it. It's so deep and so broad and so vast. It's really hard to know who can really do what to really turn this thing around, all the way from the Federal Reserve to policing the whole world. I mean,
Right, and I think that's getting that platoon together and working together, standing strong in everything. Whether it's the corruption, whether it's voting on constitutional sound legislation or not constitutional sound, voting it out. So we need to get that platoon together and really work together. This actually on Newsmax, they talked about this is the year of the unknown candidates. Across the nation, there are so many candidates that have decided, we're tired of the crap. We're tired of politicians being a bad word. We want people of integrity. We want politicians to be a good word. We are supposed to be servants. And so there is quite a few new people, I'm hoping, get voted in and are really true to what they're campaigning on.
Thank you.
The 17th Amendment, we got the direct election of senators. The founding fathers really didn't want the direct election of senators. They wanted the state legislators appointing the senators. Would you do anything to reintroduce that, to get the states in control of the senators?
If we had a change in if we look at our board here, we have a whole bunch that are not conservative. So these boards are the Freedom Foundation grades. So if we look at the Senate, I wouldn't want them voting somebody in because we know it's going to be somebody that's not true to anything. other than themselves. So right now, with the boards that we have, no. But if that changed, I'm hoping it changes this year. Hopefully everybody's voting conservative, looking at who you're voting in, then yeah, let's talk about it and do that trickle effect. What happens when they repeal it? But that's the scary part, is that we have senators that our representatives are not conservative in what the people really want.
So, question was asked last week, and I thought it was a fair question. When you're in Washington, D.C., the special interest groups are going to be after you. Will you accept their money? And if you do, how will it affect you?
I guess I could accept the money and then spread it to Idaho, but no, I'm not going to be bought. I'm walking away from my career, and my friend Lori can tell you how hard I've worked to get to where I am, or was, in pediatrics. So that was kind of the pinnacle of my career. So I would like to get back to that. If we can get our nation back to where we are not trampling over our rights and I'm forced to do something that I don't want to do, then I could go back to my job as long as I keep up my hours. So no, interest groups won't have, the only people that have my interests will be state of Idaho people.
Okay, do we have any more questions?
How do you feel about the death penalty? Because frankly, we have a lot of treasonous people right now.
Yeah. So, I mean, I feel that the death penalty is okay. So.
I'll make the rope.
A hemp rope?
I'll make the ropes.
Yeah.
Just as an aside, if you do make it to DC, there'll be plenty of babies there that you can take care of to keep your hours up.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. Oh.
And this isn't a question, but I've only known Brenda for about a decade from work, and then, not gonna lie, she's also my tennis player. She's pretty good on the tennis court. So don't mess with her, just got a racket on her. And I am an idiot compared to so many of you people who are so educated and knowledgeable on all of this. But I'm very conservative. What I know about Brenda is that she always does the right thing. She doesn't let, she won't be bullied. She doesn't let the corporate people push her into doing anything that isn't the right thing. So everyone that I know personally has had a conversation with me, or will, haven't seen him recently, that they need to be voting for Brenda Bourn, because I know damn deep that she will do the right thing. And if she doesn't, I think you saw her here, if she didn't have the answer, she'll own it, and she'll find who does and do the research on it. But it's so refreshing to see someone who just really wants to help Idaho. So.
I didn't pay her for that, no. I'll pay her later tonight, no.
All right, we've been grilling her for about 1 hour, so we have one question left.
One little question.
One little question.
Did you know that people in Washington DC can't vote?
Huh? Not yet, until they become a state, or, is that on the ballot this year?
No.
Okay.
Isn't it just interesting?
Yeah.
They all hide out in Washington DC, which is not part of the United States of America.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
3 places on the continent like that. Westminster and Vatican. All those 3 places. Vatican City is not part of Italy. Westminster is not part of London.
So what about Indian sovereign land, though?
No, that's different.
Yeah, okay. I can hide out on.
Indians have more rights than anybody.
Yeah, I can hide out on.
By God's
Yeah.
law,
Yeah.
Indians have more rights.
Yeah. Yeah, we predate everything, yeah.
I think they should be upfront running a lot of things.
Yeah. So
They have their.
they have, just a side note, and you probably know this, but there has never been a Native American senator from the state of Idaho. Not even a senator, a Native American that is a tribal Idahoan. And they also have never had a female senator. They've had a female representative back in the, I want to say 60s or 70s. Yeah, so. Yeah.
Just one last thing. Can we count on you, Brenda, to be our Marjorie Taylor Greene?
Heck yeah. So, yeah. She will be my first friend I get to meet.
All right, and with that, we'll wrap everything up, unless anyone has any last minute questions. So, all right, well, I want to thank you all for coming. I got a text saying I got one more announcement I need to make. In July, the Stand for Idaho is wanting to host a constitutional camp. And if anyone wants to help, get a hold of Cindy Toomer. So that's what they're planning in July. So that's what the text says, and I don't know anything more than that right now. So with that, I'll let you guys have the rest of your evening. I want to say thank you for coming.
And if anybody